All right, let's talk about it. Remote work pay cuts. It is one of the biggest, most heated debates in the business world right now. But what if I told you the reason some people flat out refuse a pay cut isn't really about greed? What if it's about a deep psychological mindset? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden worldview that's driving this entire conflict. Let's dive in.
So it really all boils down to this one simple question. Should your salary be tied to your zip code or to your results? Now, companies will tell you that the cost of living matters, but professionals, they're saying, hey, my value is in the work I produce. This is a huge clash of philosophies, and it turns out how you answer this could reveal your entire internal operating system for what you believe is fair.
To get to the bottom of this, we're turning to the data. A global poll went out to over 1,000 professionals. We're talking 80 different countries here, and asked them a pretty straightforward question. Would you take a pay cut to work from home? And the answers they got back, well, they weren't random at all. They revealed a very distinct pattern, pointing to something way deeper than just personal preference.
And here it is. This is the big clue the data gave us, positive 0.1299. I know, it just looks like a random number on a screen, right? But in statistics, a number like this is a massive signal. It measures how strong the link is between two things. And in this case, it's the link between having a very specific worldview and absolutely refusing a pay cut for remote work. So to unlock what this number really means, we're gonna need a key.
And that key is a really powerful psychological model called spiral dynamics. The basic idea is that just like societies evolve over time, our own human value systems do too. You can kind of think of it like different levels in a video game. Every level has its own set of rules, its own goals, and its own way of winning. And spiral dynamics, well, it gives us the map to all these different levels of human values. So in spiral dynamics, these value systems, which are called vMEMEs, are shown as different colors. Now, it's really important to get this. These aren't fixed personality types, like being an introvert or an extrovert. They're more like different modes of thinking, different software we run, that we can actually shift between, depending on our situation. Each color represents a totally different logic for how the world is supposed to work.
Okay, so here's a super quick tour. Purple is all about the tribe, family, and safety. Red is about raw power, being the boss. Blue is about structure, order, and following the rules. And then we get to orange. Orange is driven by achievement, success, and competition. Definitely remember that one. After orange, you've got green, which values community and harmony, and then yellow, which tries to see the whole big picture and make all the systems work together. The key thing is, each color sees fairness in a completely different way.
So, which of these worldviews had the absolute strongest connection to rejecting pay cuts? Well, the data was crystal clear. It all points to one color, orange. So let's zoom in and really unpack this orange mindset to see why it's right at the center of this whole debate. This right here, this is the core of the orange operating system. It's all about achievement, all about that results-driven mindset. It absolutely champions meritocracy, the idea that the best person with the best results should win. It uses rational, logical thinking to get a competitive edge. I mean, this is the mindset that basically built modern capitalism, and it runs on one simple question. Did you deliver? And this is the absolute heart of the conflict. For someone with an orange mindset, this isn't an emotional argument. It's a simple, logical equation. If my output is the same, my value is the same. End of story. Paying me less just because I moved my laptop from one city to another, to orange, that's not just unfair, it's completely illogical. It breaks the fundamental rule of meritocracy. You get what you earn, period. So let's be super clear about this. The orange mindset doesn't have a problem with remote work. In fact, it often loves the efficiency. What it rejects is what it sees as an illogical devaluation of its output. The objection is to the idea that their work is suddenly worth less simply because of their physical coordinates on a map. It's a direct violation of their core value. Compensation must reflect contribution. But here's the thing. Orange isn't the only mindset showing up to work every day. To really get the full picture, we need to see how the other value systems look at this exact same issue. Because, believe me, their perspectives are radically different. And the data here is just fascinating. You can see orange has the strongest statistical link to saying no way to pay cuts. Right behind it is red, which totally makes sense because the red mindset is all about power and hates being controlled or feeling like someone's taking advantage of them. But then just look at the other side of the table. Purple, green, and even turquoise are way more open to taking a cut. So what gives? Why is there such a huge difference in perspective? Well, it all comes down to what each system values most. For the green mindset, things like community, harmony, and your own personal well-being are at the top of the list. So, a 10% pay cut in exchange for way less stress and more family time, that might actually seem like a fantastic deal. And for turquoise, which thinks in these huge, holistic systems, the focus might be on reducing their carbon footprints or creating a more sustainable work-life balance for everyone. They're just playing a different game with a totally different scoreboard than orange.
So, how do we actually use this stuff in the real world? This isn't just some abstract theory. Understanding these mindsets gives business leaders a powerful new way to think about compensation, about motivation, about the whole shebang. Okay, here's the core problem and the solution laid out side by side. The pain for the orange mindset is a broken meritocracy. When you pay two people differently for the exact same results, the whole system feels rigged. The gain for companies, though, is simple. Fix the system. Anchor pay to clear, measurable output, not to office attendance. Make location a non-issue. When you do that, you tap directly into that powerful, achievement-oriented drive that Orange thrives on. And hey, this isn't some far-off theoretical future we're talking about. Some of the most successful and innovative remote companies on the planet have already figured this out. They're building their entire pay philosophy around this exact principle.
I mean, just look at these companies. GitLab's public salary calculator is pure orange logic. Your role and your output determine your pay, not your city. Buffer is famous for its totally transparent pay formula. Again, it's about the work, not the where. And Reddit's policy is like the perfect orange mantra. We reward impact, not location. They are literally building their companies on a foundation of pure, location-agnostic meritocracy. So when you combine the psychological data, the raw logic of a merit-based mindset, and you see the success of companies that have already made the switch, the path forward starts to look incredibly clear.
And this quote just reframes the whole debate, doesn't it? It stops being about whether remote work is a perk that you have to pay for, and it becomes a fundamental challenge to our very definition of fairness. It leads us to the ultimate question for any company that claims it values performance. Can a system that prices identical work differently truly call itself a meritocracy?
And that's the final question we're left with for the future of work. As our jobs become more and more about what we produce and less about where we produce it, is tying our pay to a physical address just a relic of an old way of thinking? If it's truly all about the results, then should location ever matter? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.